welcome to a new ship tour and video of the cruise vibes, and today we're gonna take a look at the Vasco Da Gama of nicko cruises. And as always, we're starting with some general facts. The ship is 219.21 meters long, 30.8 meters wide, and has a gross tonnage of 55,451. She can take up to 1,613 passengers, but with nicko cruises the maximum capacity is 1,000 guests on board, and there are 550 crew members, so we have an excellent passenger-crew ratio. The ship was built in 1993 as Starterdam for the Holland America line, later on was sailing as the Pacific Eden for P&O Australia, and then changed to Cruise Maritime Voyages, where she was also sailing for Transocean cruises under the name Vasco Da Gama, and since 2021 she's sailing as the Vasco Da Gama for nicko cruises. We're starting on the lowest deck, deck number 4, but there are only cabins, so we can continue on deck number 5. Also on deck number 5 there are only cabins, so we can straight go to the front, where we do have an entrance and exits, but that's all on deck 5, so we can go straight up to deck number 6. And here we can start our tour properly at the atrium. A very elegant atrium on a very unique ship. The Vasco Da Gama has a very unique design. If you remember my ship tour of the ambience of Ambassador Cruise Lines, you might see some similarities, and that is because both ships were redesigned by P&O Cruises Australia, and therefore they have a quite similar design, but a very unique design that you won't find on many other ships. Here we can see some pictures. As always, I included some pictures in my ship tour. Here we can see the atrium. On the lowest deck of the atrium there is no bar, just a few seats, so this is a good meeting point before starting your excursion. So if you want to wait for some of your friends, you can do this here, but there is no bar. And on deck 6 there are no more public areas, but there is the promenade, so now we're gonna take a look at the promenade. Therefore we're gonna step out, and we have a very nice walk around promenade, so you can walk all the way around the whole ship on this promenade. And we even have a wooden floor, so very, very nice promenade. Very spacious and nice area. I'm gonna take a short walk here on the promenade, but not on the full length, because now we're heading up to deck number 7. Here aft of the ship we have the waterfront, the restaurant, which you can only access from deck 6 or deck 8, because behind me is the kitchen, so that's why there is no access from the rest of deck 7 to this restaurant. And here we can see it, very beautiful big restaurant, the biggest restaurant on board, the main restaurant, open for breakfast, lunch and dinner, all served at the table. For breakfast there's a combination of buffet and service at the table, which I really enjoy because I'm not a fan of the buffet, so this is a very nice alternative. You can take a few things from the buffet, but most things were brought to you at the table. There's nothing more that we can take a look at this part of deck 7, so now we can see the pictures of the restaurant, and then we're heading back down. One big advantage of this restaurant is that it is right aft of the ship, so you have some very nice panoramic windows where you can take a look over the stern wave, so that's very, very nice. We're now back down on deck number 6, and we're gonna continue our tour on the promenade. So now we're right at the end of the ship. As you can see from here, you have some fantastic views over the stern wave as well. And we're now heading back to the front of the ship. And as I said, you can walk all the way around, but we're not going to do that now. We're just heading back to the atrium. On the promenade, as you can see, a very, very long promenade, stretches the whole length of the ship, but we are now turning left, heading for the atrium. Gonna take another look at the atrium. As I said, you have some seating areas, but no bar, so this is just for meeting with your friends and then starting your excursion. So there's nothing else I can show you here in this very beautiful atrium, so we can get up back to deck number 7, to the front part of deck number 7. Here in the front we have Hollywood's. Hollywood's is the show lounge, the theater on board. stretching over 2 decks. We're gonna take a look at the lower deck first. Very beautiful interior we have here, very nice design, and this is very typical for this ship, just like on the ambience, which has been renovated in the same style. If you do not like a certain area of the ship, it doesn't mean that you do not like the whole ship, because every single area has its own style. So for example, if you don't like a bar, you can just go to the next bar and it will look completely different. On most modern ships, all areas are looking more or less the same. They do have the same design, but here every area of the ship has its own design. So this is very, very nice, and I love the idea behind this. Here we have the Photoshop, quite spacious area, because back then when the ship was built, all pictures were printed and then you just buy them if you want to have them, but now you can just look at them at screen and they will only get printed if you actually want to buy them, which of course is much more sustainable. We're back in the atrium, and on this deck in the atrium we have the most important places like the reception, the excursion office, also the desk of the cruise director, and also the possibility to book your next cruise on board. All this you can find here in the atrium on deck number 7. Here we can see some more pictures of the atrium and the reception, and also the shore tours office. And from here we continue on. Here on the right side we have the office of the cruise director and the possibility to book your next cruise. We will take a closer look at this later on. And now we are in the wine bar. As the name implies, this is a bar that is focused on wine, so here you can have a nice glass of wine and have a little wine tasting. We're continuing now in the auditorium, which is a cinema, can also be used for meetings and conferences, and it also has a show kitchen, so a proper multi-purpose room. And from here we can go straight to the conference rooms. There are 2 conference rooms on board called Bondi and Nusa. And the Bondi conference room we're gonna take a look at now is the bigger one. You can see it here. Also you can see the picture. And right next to it is the Nusa conference room, the smaller conference room. There's also a hallway continuing on from here, but it just leads to a crew area, especially to the kitchen, which is behind those conference room and in between the conference room and the waterfront, a restaurant. So that's why we cannot continue in this direction. We're going back. Here we can see the future cruises desk and the desk of the cruise director. You can see it also in the picture. And that means that we have now seen all public areas on deck number 7, and we can continue on deck number 8. Here we can see this nice atrium with the blue and golden colors. Again, very, very nice, beautiful combination of colors. Very impressive atrium. That's also typical for the ships of P&O Cruises Australia. They all have very impressive atriums. From here we are going back to Hollywood's. We can now take a look at the second deck of the Hollywood's theater, and here on the left side we have a shopping area. We're gonna take a closer look at this later on. Now let's head into the theater, and as you can see it has a very unique design. I really love all those pictures here on the wall, and I also like the feeling that you have in this theater. Even though it has a quite high capacity, you do not have the feeling that it is a huge room, a huge theater, because it has a quite smart design. You have quite a good view to the stage from almost all seats, and you have a high capacity, but still it feels like a smaller area. Now we can continue. We're heading out of the ship past the shopping galleria. There are a lot of shops available here on the Vasco da Gama. Shop that is mostly selling clothing, and then we keep on going. Here we have things you might need during your cruise, like snacks and all the things you might have forgotten to pack, so quite useful shop here. And on the other side we have the Ocean Bar. This is my favorite bar, and if you remember my video from the ambience, you immediately see that this looks like the Botanical Lounge on the ambience, same design. And as the Botanical Lounge was my favorite lounge on the ambience, this here, the Ocean Bar, was of course my favorite bar on board of the Vasco da Gama. There would have been a lounge that I preferred even more, but it was not open all the time, and I will tell you later on a bit more about this. But this bar here, the Ocean Bar, was almost open all day long, so it was the first bar to open and stayed open till late in the night. So this was the place to go during the day when the ship was sailing, and because of the very nice design, it was also my favorite bar on board. It can get a bit crowded from time to time, especially if there's some live music and some events, but still a very, very beautiful and nice and decent lounge and bar. I really enjoy this design, and as I already said, every single place on board has its own design language. So we are continuing now to the next bar, and you will see that it looks completely different. So if you don't like the style of the Ocean Bar, maybe you prefer the style of the Sports Lounge, which you can see here. Completely different design, completely different style. This is a bar that is focused on sports, so we have a lot of screens. So if there is some sports event, you can watch this here. Quite a spacious lounge area. There are two bars on the other side that we will see in a second. Of course, you can get your drinks from this bar then, because here just right on the other side there is the bar. It's called the Captain's Club. Actually, there are two bars, one on the left side, one on the right side, looking slightly different, but both are called the Captain's Club. Here we have one lounge on this side, and then on the other side there is the other lounge. And on the whole side, the whole length on the side, there are some more shops. This is the expensive shop where you can buy perfumes, jewelry, bags, and all those luxurious items you can buy here. We have the second part of the Captain's Club. As you can see, looks almost the same but slightly different. Here we can see the pictures of these two bars. You can see how close they are together. And now we can take a look into the shop, the luxurious shop on board. You can also take a look at a picture of it. Of course, it was still closed because, as always, I'm doing my ship tours very early in the morning when most guests are still sleeping, so I don't have to blur too many faces. And here we can see a seating area right next to the bars at the window to enjoy the view. And from here we continue on to the library. The library used to be another shop, but there were too many shops on this ship for the German market, so instead of a shop, it is now the library. You can clearly see that this was a shop before, but now it is used as a library. Right next to the library we have the reading room. The reading room is a calm lounge without a bar, where you can read your books or just enjoy the view without music and without noises. So a very, very nice location if you prefer to not listen to music, to have no entertainment, to just be on your own, then this is the place to go. You also have those nice chairs here right next to the windows, so imagine just sitting there reading your book and not even realizing that there are people sitting next to you, because it is calm and you have a lot of privacy there. So this is why this is a very nice area on the ship. Also the design, once again, very different colors, but also very, very beautiful. Gonna take another look at those nice chairs here right next to the windows. Fantastic view and a lot of privacy. We're continuing on. Next stop of our tour will be the grill. The grill is a specialty restaurant. Actually, it is a steakhouse, so it's not included. You have to pay extra if you want to dine here. And I also did this during my cruise, so we will see this in the upcoming vlogs. And on the other side, we do have the Blue Room, which is yet another bar, and yet it has another different design. This reminds me a lot of a Raffles bar on the ambience. Blue color scheme, that's why it's called the Blue Room. Also a very nice and beautiful lounge. Also open almost all day long, but opening a bit later than the Oceans bar. And also a calm alternative in the evening. Not too much entertainment here in this bar, so it's a rather calm and relaxed bar with, in my opinion, a very beautiful design. Then we continue on heading aft of the ship, and there we have some more restaurants. There we have two more restaurants which are included. We have the Fusion restaurant and the Waterfront Mediterranean restaurant. Before heading to those restaurants, we have a private dining room on the right side. Chef's table, so this can be used, for example, for a captain's dinner or for private occasions, because there's just one big table in a separate room, so you're there on your own. Here you can see it on the picture. And from here we can now continue on to these two restaurants that I just mentioned. The Fusion restaurant is an Asian restaurant. It's not used as an Asian restaurant on all days, sometimes it's just serving the same menu like the main restaurants, but on some days it also offers an Asian kitchen. This is the very beautiful entrance area to these restaurants. On the right side now we have the Fusion, in this case the port side, and as you can see it looks very modern, like a modern Asian sushi restaurant. Very, very beautiful. When it comes to design, for me personally, the most beautiful restaurant on board. I really enjoyed the design of this restaurant. It looks absolutely stunning. It's also right aft of the ship, so you have a fantastic view over the stern wave, but only from two very special tables. You can see here on the left and right there a bit in an Asian style. Also quite a fun idea. Of course it's taking up a lot of space, but there is more than enough space on this ship because it was planned for 1,600 guests and nicko is only traveling with 1,000 guests maximum. On the other side we have the Waterfront Mediterranean restaurant, which focuses on an Italian and Mediterranean cuisine, but of course also sometimes offer the regular menu. Also very nice restaurant, also with a nice view over the stern wave, comfortable seating and a lot of space. So also this is a very nice restaurant. And this also means that we have now seen all public areas on deck number 8, so we can now continue on going up one more deck to deck number 9. On deck number 9 we have almost only cabins. There's just a small outer terrace at the aft, which we're gonna take a look at now. Most cabins on this deck have balconies, private balconies. Only a few inside cabins and a few cabins without balcony in the front, but most cabins on this deck have a balcony. Cabins on the lower decks do not have balconies. Here we have the outer terrace, once again with a nice view over the stern wave. And that's actually it for deck number 9. We can straight away go to deck number 10. Also on deck number 10 we have mainly cabins, a few inside cabins, few balcony cabins, and mostly there are the most expensive cabins, the suites on board. But there is also the Oasis pool, and that's where we are heading now. Therefore we have to go up these stairs here and then we are right at the Oasis pool, which is also aft of the ship. This is the a bit more calm pool available. There are two main pools on board and this is the calmer one. Here you have a lot of sunbathing area, but not too much entertainment, so this is a very relaxed pool. And then we have the main pool, which can be a bit more crowded, a bit more noisy, so you can choose which one you want to visit, the calm one or the busy one. On this deck there is also the Neptune's Lounge, which is a lounge for the passengers who are staying in a suite. As I do not have access to this lounge, we also skip it and continue straight on deck number 11. Deck 10 was the highest deck with cabins, so from now on we have only public areas to see. Here we have a terrace which is already part of the Club Bistro, which is the buffet restaurant on board. So here you can also enjoy your breakfast, lunch and dinner in the sun, outside if the weather permits, of course. And now we're going to take a look at the Club Bistro, the buffet restaurant. On this day I was slightly late for my ship tour, so the Club Bistro just opened, so the early risers were already in the restaurant, so I cannot show you everything too good because there were people everywhere. But I tried my best to show you those scenes where I do not have to blur too many faces, but I think you can get a good impression of how the restaurant looks. You have different themed areas where you can get the food, and then you have a nice seating area. Of course, it's less comfortable than the main restaurants. Typical design of a buffet restaurant. Not too comfortable, but as Germans do love buffet, it is always crowded here. You have a lot of guests visiting, even though the main restaurants are much more comfortable. You won't find me here very often because I personally prefer the a la carte service over buffet, but there's the right choice for everybody on board. Here we have cappuccinos where you can get some coffee and ice cream. And now we are at the second pool of the ship, and this is the covered pool area with a retractable roof. So if the weather is good, you can just retract the roof, and then this is another outdoor pool. And if the weather is not good, this pool is covered, so you have a pool available even if the weather is bad. There's of course also a bar which is called the Lido bar. We can see it here, and on the other side we have the alfresco grill, which we'll see later on. This is the Lido bar where you can get your drinks for your stay at the pool. We have very comfortable sun lounges with a very high quality. We have a nice seating area, and of course we have these nice dolphins. We have a stage here, so everything available that you might want to have. So you can have some parties here, you can relax here, you can have nice drinks and also even some food. As I said, we have a nice pool and some hot tubs, which we will see in a second. They are behind the dolphins, this statue of the dolphins. And here we're now heading towards the alfresco grill, where you can get some food. Here we can see it in the picture as well. And now we are heading back to the pool. Just take a look at this nice pool area with the dolphin statue and the hot tubs. And after that we're continuing to the front, where we will find the spa area and the gym. So here we can see the hot tubs and the dolphins in the background. Here we also have the picture. And now we're heading for the spa area. Of course I cannot show you too much of the spa area, because most parts of it you can only access if you have a reservation, and it was also still closed, so there's not too much that I can show you, but I can show you the entrance and the gym. There is also an outdoor terrace which I couldn't access because it was closed, but I can show you where it is, so you know when you're traveling with the Vasco Da Gama where to go to find the hidden terrace at the front of the ship, where you have a very nice view over the ship's bow. Here we are in the gym. Here on the left side you have an area for courses and dancing, and there you can see a door, and if you go through this door you can access the front terrace. As you can see here on the left side it was closed, so of course I did not go there, but you have the possibility if it's open to go there, and you have a nice fantastic view. Here you can see the gym, which is one of the biggest gyms I've ever seen on a cruise ship of that size. So remember, we have only 1,000 guests on board, and you have such a nice gym, just very well equipped. So that was very, very nice. And now we are on deck number 12, and here we have the Dome and Nightclub. And this is the area I was talking about earlier on. This would have been by far my favorite area on board. I would have spent most of the day here, because you have a fantastic view. It's a very pleasant atmosphere, very nicely designed lounge, and you have this fantastic view to the front. But unfortunately on my cruise it was only open in the evening, only after dinner, not during the day, even when we were sailing on the North Sea Canal, where you have a spectacular landscape. But unfortunately it was closed. I still stayed there, but you couldn't get any drinks, unfortunately. So I didn't understand why they did this, because I think it would be crowded also during the day, but they decided that it is only open in the evening. If you have been traveling on the Vasco da Gama, you can write down in the comments if it was the same on your cruise, or if it might have just been for my short party cruise on which I stayed on board. So maybe there was something different and it's open on other cruises, but I don't know about that. So if you know, let me know in the comments. And it was the last indoor area that we're gonna take a look at, and we're now continuing our tour on the sun deck, where we have a jogging track and the retractable roof of the pool area that we just saw earlier on. Now we're heading out. There's also additional seating belonging to the Dome, the nightclub, and there are also stairs leading up to another deck, but this is the crew area, so it was not accessible for me. Here we can see the seating areas and the stairs up to the crew deck, but we are heading aft of the ship. Here we can see the retractable roof. Also, this is used for sun loungers, but they weren't set up yet. Here we have a sports area. We can play football, for example, covered by nets, so to make sure that the balls are not going overboard. And from here we're heading aft of the ship. Of course, you cannot pass through this area if somebody is using the sports court, but there's also not too much to see here. Here on the left side we have the kids area. As this is a traditional German ship, there are usually not too many kids on board, but if there are kids on board, there's also a location for them. Here we can see a picture of this area here. And now we can head up one more deck. This is considered to be a part of deck number 12, so it doesn't have an own deck number. It's just a very small area. It used to be a part of the kids club, but as there are not too many kids on this ship, it is now used as an additional sun deck area. Has been refurbished recently, so now it's just another sun deck. Here we can see a picture of it. And from here we are heading back down. Can take another look over the Oasis pool and the huge pool deck, and then we're heading back to the front of the ship to see the sports court on the other side, and then we have seen all public areas of the Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama was a Portuguese seafarer, and that's why this name is also pronounced Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese way to pronounce it. It's also the pronunciation of the name that is used on board of this ship, so the correct pronunciation actually is Vasco da Gama. And now we are heading back to the sports court on the other side, on the starboard side of the ship. This is a sports court where you can mainly play basketball. Of course, you can do all sorts of sports here, but it is intended for basketball. And that means that we have now seen all public areas of this beautiful ship. In the next video, I will show you my cabin and the life on board. We will have 2 vlogs from on board, whilst I was staying on this beautiful ship during a short cruise. But that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Here you can see when the next video will be uploaded, and the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to comment, like or share the video link. And if you want to see more ship tours and cruise videos like this, make sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video then.